last couple of months or so. I'm not sure how long it's been, but I do work for American Express. I consult with small business regarding our business cards that we have for them. But my passion, I guess that's what I do. My passion really is personal development. And how did I come by that? I'm not a native of Kansas City. I moved here from a city called Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I guess my story of how I got here, I've been here a little over 10 years. And a little over 10 years ago, a natural disaster called Katrina happened. And 3 weeks after that, a lot of people don't realize we had another hurricane called Rita. So what didn't get destroyed with Katrina certainly got destroyed by Rita. And I was a small business owner in Baton Rouge. I had my own business there for quite a few years, and I was in a position not only dealing with the emotion, the fear. Well, you don't know, it took 5 hours for Katrina to pass over, and I was in my house the whole time, and I had a 5-year-old son at that time who was standing by me saying, "A hurricane's coming, Daddy, a hurricane's coming." And, where do you go? I mean, really, you come to a question where it's just you and God sometimes. What are you doing? And I've been involved in business for so long, and focusing so much on business, and accumulating assets in business, and using that to accumulate a nice home and a nice property and business relationships. But then all of a sudden, in a matter of really, it took maybe about 2 months, everything was gone. And so now I'm sitting here with nothing. Lenders still want their money. I have no clients left because they've left. I have no accounts left because they've liquidated all their accounts. I have nothing to fall back on. And so, as I speak, I look back on my journey because there was so many things that happened that really have been impactful for me, become part of my testimony. And I think my passion of wanting to share is you always look back of why. You ask the question of why do these things happen? And when you have a natural disaster, you have no one to blame. You really have no one to blame other than Mother Nature. And you make decisions. You find that you have to make decisions in life. And I remember at the moment that I made a decision that this wasn't, I wasn't going to rest in self-pity. I was going to take this and look at it as an opportunity. I had no idea what that opportunity was, but I wasn't going to let it beat me down. And I'm going to try to relate this to business as well, because it's so impactful in my business world today, and I think it can be so impactful in many businesses, and it's so interesting here listening about gratitude, because that's really where my focus has been. And I do speak and have spoken when it comes to personal development with businesses, and my talk is on magic. What's your magic? And that's what I talk about, but that usually takes me about an hour to do. But if I can focus on a little bit on that as far as what's your message, that's really the big thing. Who are you? Because this whole experience, I just add on to that very quickly. I spent 3 days down in New Orleans after the storm during search and rescue. So I experienced and saw things that I know that I'm never going to forget. I saw a lot of death. I realized that all we have right now is this moment. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're not guaranteed this afternoon. So what am I doing with this time that I have right now at this moment? And I think that's where my message came. Really taking a look down in here of personally, am I a caring man or am I a hateful man? It's either or. I can't rest on a board and wonder about it. And I have to make a decision. It's not something I think about. It's a decision of deciding who am I going to be. And from a business standpoint, when I take a look as a leader, am I a leader or am I a boss? Am I a business owner or am I an entrepreneur? I think when we take a look at personal development and moving into business development, those are some key things to think about. Because if you're focusing on building a business and you don't have that personal foundation behind you, when something happens, you have nothing there. You have nothing to fall back on. And so it's a question, really, I think, that I just want to leave with each one of you, something to think about. And I'm more than happy, to talk about my journey, which has been a long journey of restoration, I call it. And to be honest with you, I'm the happiest I've ever been through all of those things, just because I've found out who I am, as a person, in my business of what I do today. I focus on, I'm a servant first, and as long as I keep that in mind when I'm doing, everything else is going to fall in behind. It always has. And generally what happens is what I'm receiving is so much more than what I ever expected. And again, I'm whittling this down, but I think that's a whole lot right there. I think to stop and think about from a business standpoint. From a business standpoint, we think about how do we survive. I think there's so many obvious things that we do. I think when it comes to, or maybe we don't. I hope you do. Your financial information, your computer, all of that information of storing it, keeping it off site, backing things up. Those are the obvious things. But what we don't think about, I think, which goes beyond that, and your relationships with people. And especially think about transitioning. If you're changing jobs, or if you've left a job to start a business and are growing, what are your relationships with those people that had helped you in the past? What is your relationship with that company that even maybe fired you? Think about those. Those are things, when I look back on my life, surprisingly, I never burned bridges. When I had left positions years ago, when it was a breakup, it was a mutual separation. I remember always thanking the leader for the opportunity to work for them and maintaining those relationships. And I share that because in my journey here today, those people were the people who helped me get back on my feet again. People I had past relationships with. People I knew. That's how I got to Kansas City. I had a past relationship of someone who saw what would happen and gave me a position of employment up here in Kansas City when I had nothing. And so I think when we talk about gratitude, and when we talk about, again, what kind of people are we? What kind of person are you? And how are you going to react to things? How do you react to things around you? And the other thing, plus it reduces your blood pressure. It makes you happy. All of those things. Because we can get ourselves so focused on success, so focused on money, so focused on things that really are temporary. Because you don't see a U-Haul behind a hearse, do you? You can't take it with you. So anyway, I don't know how much time I have left, but if time for questions, or if people have thoughts or things that they wanted to share, I'm certainly willing to answer.